welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Now to warm up for the future organization, to warm up a little bit. Just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Pele. I'm from Ghana and Japan. And I was born in Sakura Shimachi. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yes. Yes.
So I was born in Sakura Shimachi when I was 9 months old. So my dad and my mom lived here. My dad's actually a magician.
A magician?
Yeah, my dad's a stage magician and a voodoo priest as well. And he was doing, I'm starting to introduce him now instead of myself. But he was...
Your dad was a stage magician,
yeah,
and a voodoo priest.
Yeah.
And what was he doing here in Japan?
So he was performing in Japan, and he also used to organize a lot of Afrocentric events in Japan back in the 90s.
Wow.
Right? My mom was in banking, and then she happened to attend one of his events, like a music and drumming and dancing event. And then they met, this and that, whatever.
And you seduced him?
Yeah, he did.
The magic worked.
The magic worked. And basically, so when I was born, I have an older brother. His name is Senna. He's the homie. But when I was born, my dad decided my parents decided they didn't want to raise us in Japan because in the 90s, and it's still kind of the case now, but it's a little bit hard raising mixed Malaysian kids, with all the discrimination you could face. So they figured they'd rather raise us in Ghana.
Yeah.
So when I was 9 months, they packed everything, took a risk, and this.
Wow.
When everyone told my mom she's crazy.
Yeah.
Because she's working finance here, and then blah blah blah. I'm going to Africa. I was like, what?
Right.
She does it, and I lived in Ghana for 16 years.
Yeah.
And then when I was 16, I moved to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
For high school. And
Costa Rica.
See.
Well, that. I mean.
Yeah, it was there was like a school called United World College.
You went to a UWC.
I did go to a UWC.
You are kidding.
I went to UWC Costa Rica.
You went to UWC Costa Rica. I went to Lester B. Pearson College.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. That is insane.
You went to Costa Rica. I'm sorry. Like Ghana to Costa Rica is like what the hell?
Yeah.
Voodoo priest. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So I lived the best 2 years of my life there.
Yeah, that's my line for the UWC.
Yeah. So I guess even if I get older, I'll still have been my best 2 years then. Yeah. So that was great. Went to Costa Rica, learned a lot. It opened my world. Because I was in Ghana the whole time. I used to come to Japan every summer. Yeah. Or every other Christmas or something to visit family. I learned Japanese in Ghana. Okay. We had this thing called Hoshuko. Yeah. So Hoshuko every Saturday. I hated it. So but then I'm grateful now because they taught me Japanese and my mom also taught it to me. But so I went to Costa Rica, and when I graduated high school, I went to the US. I got some scholarship and financial aid. Yeah. Davis. Yeah. Big Daddy Davis. Yeah. Gave us some scholarship. Went to a school called Middlebury. Yeah. In Vermont. Oh, God. The middle of nowhere. Yeah. God, Tokyo, Ghana, Costa Rica, middle of nowhere. Middlebury. It's like a tiny town, a couple thousand people. It's one cinema. Yeah. 2 bars, I think. Something like that. It's very, very cold. Right. So I was there for 4 years, studied economics and environmental studies. Yeah. And then I graduated 2019. Yeah. And I was just like, I'm out of here. I came to Tokyo.
But so, to come back to Tokyo, so the first thing, you played the safe hand, so to speak, right? I mean, you'd studied econ, and, worked for an international company, which is a great company, Rakuten, and sort of established your footing, so to speak, here in Japan. Yeah. And so, what were the next steps? When did your creator bug come through?
So like my creative side, I've always felt I was a bit of a creative person, but I kind of like slept on it for like the more recent half of my life, I guess.
Oh, because your older brother didn't do it.
Yeah. I shouldn't have said that.
I'm sorry, and that was a layup.
Yeah. I mean, you have to.
That was a layup.
So I used to do a lot of events rather. So that's how I used to express my creativity. So I have an organization, myself and my brother, and this girl from Senegal, 3 of us were co-founders of an organization called Jaspora.
Jaspora.
And it stands for Japan African Diaspora.
Nice.
We're doing it for about 3 years now.
Yep.
And we, right now the frequency of our events varies quite a bit, but we do a lot of events on Afrocentric topics in Japan. So it's an organization for the African diaspora here in Japan, as well as the allies, meaning people who are interested in Afrocentric topics. So when I say African diaspora, it's not just like people from the 54 countries of Africa, but the diaspora in the Americas and wherever in the world, right? And in Japan as well.
Right.
And so we do a lot of topics. We've done talks. So I do a lot of talk shows.
Yeah.
So we host like a panel and invite different cool speakers who are doing cool stuff. We've done stuff on like creatives, Afro creatives here in Japan. We do Black History Month events in CIC in Toronto, you know. We've done a topic on like Afro-Asian fashion fusion. We've done like agribusiness between Japan and Africa. We've got like the Ghana ambassador to come and speak. Now work with the UNFAO as well to talk about like mediating. We facilitated workshops and kind of consulted for the UN, a team in the FAO to like facilitate conversations between Japanese companies and African companies and Ghanaian and Kenyan companies who are working within agriculture and how to increase more collaboration. Last year I went to Ghana. No, it was worse. I went to Ghana last year in April, came back in June, right? And that's obviously COVID and all this stuff. And when I was leaving Ghana, this fucking guy, I was at the COVID testing lab, right? And the guy asks me like, do you want it from your nose or you want it from your mouth? So I'm like, I mean, obviously the nose one hurts, you know, like put it from the mouth. And then he gives me, I tell him I'm going to Japan. He said, okay, what do you want? And then I come to Japan, right? I get there, they're like, show me your shit. I show them my thing, and then they're like, this test, nose, mouth. And I was like, yeah, it's mouth. And then they're like, yeah, mouth test, no. Cool, mouth, nose, cannot enter Japan. So they literally tried, and I have Japanese passport. They tried to deport me from Japan because my COVID test was not from the nose. I should have lied. Like if I knew how to lie. But then I said like, yes, from the mouth. And so they're like, nah, you're not getting in, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, we're gonna send you back. It's like, well, you're gonna pay. Because I was like, I don't mind going back to Ghana, you know, I love Ghana. But they're like, no, you're gonna pay yourself. And so it was like a whole ordeal.
At Narita.
At Narita. And it was like very stressful. I managed to convince them to not deport me. And then they made me quarantine in a hotel for 14 days. Fully paid by me. They didn't even give me one onigiri in the 14 days.
Good. That's why you're so skinny. Now I know.
But it was so frustrating. I remember once, and I'm not a violent guy, but I was like so frustrated. I want to hit something. I was like, I'm smarter than that. I was like, if I hit anybody, of course that's not acceptable. If I hit anything, I'm gonna be in so much more trouble. So I hit the ground. And bro, like I was like so swollen. And like it cut a little bit. It wasn't bad. But then like the guy who was the Ethiopian Airlines guy who was kind of like mediating between me and the quarantine, he was like, hold on, he was like kind of like mocking me for being a fool. I was like, yeah, violence is not the answer. Long story short, I'm in the hotel and I took a story of this, right? I was kind of documenting this on my Instagram story.
Right.
About like all the shit that's happening. I have to spend the night in the airport. Just dilly-dallying and being frustrated. And a lot of people found it so funny. The whole saga. And then someone said to me like, dude, you should make a TikTok. And now I'm in the hotel stuck for 14 days. I have shit to do. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's make a video. And then I just made a video. The first one I made was about this experience at the airport of how they're trying to send me back. And it got like 1 million views in like maybe 2 days. And I'm in the hotel, just like looking up, I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy, this is kind of fun. And I figured I'd just do it. So while I was in quarantine, I made a video almost every day. It's like, yeah, that's how it started.
So completely, if you had said no,
if I said no, I'd probably not be.
You'd be like some boring corporate guy.
I'd just be a dude walking around. Like literally, if I had told that dude no, you know, I would not have started TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
And so now you've got you do your view on Japan.
Yeah, basically. Mine and perhaps the view of the community.
Yeah.
Because some of the videos I make, so like my niche or whatever, is kind of foreign experiences in Japan, but with the biggest focus maybe on Afro experiences in Japan.
Yeah.
And then like a bit of like foreigners in Japan kind of stuff. And then I also do some stuff from Ghana.
Yeah.
But right now I'm gravitating more towards the Japan stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I do my personal experiences a lot, but I also like to just listen to people's stories. I ask them questions in terms of funny stuff or whatever stuff and try and make it funny. Obviously try not disrespect their story, but then try and tell that story. Like what I'm trying to do is to just share the experiences of our people in Japan, what we go through, what maybe the average Japanese person Japanese people are not even my audience, like my main goal. But like if they were, like hoping to give them access to stories that they won't hear, because a lot of Japanese people don't even have foreign friends.
No, sure.
Or black friends,
sure.
Either, you know?
Right.
And so when they do, I feel Japanese people are very receptive and like are open to listen and hear stuff.
So what are your ambitions now? Are you still at Rakuten, or you've moved on?
So I have left Rakuten. I left this summer, and I got my bonus and dipped. And then I got a new job actually at Tokyo Tower.
Yeah.
So I work in a company called Red, or technically called Tokyo Esports Gate.
Yeah.
But it's Red Tokyo Tower, so people know it as. We have the first, third, fourth, and fifth floor of Tokyo Tower.
Right.
And it's Japan's biggest esports / VR AR gaming theme park.
Right.
Right. So that's why I work there in business development.
Yeah.
And some blockchain. We have a token as well.
Right.
So I work on use case design and marketing strategies, community development, doing like AMAs and stuff like that.
Right.
But also right now I'm working on capturing inbound tourists into Red Tokyo Tower, because I feel it's such a cool space, right? It's huge. Like 6,500 square meters of like all these like VR games, horror, this and that, like racing. It's like pretty decked out.
Right. You've got VR, virtual reality games, right? What else?
AR games,
right?
Augmented reality games. We've got like racing simulators. We've got all these things that use sensors. So like, how to say? I mean, it's all this like interactive, like virtual, physical, interactive game stuff. So you have to like use your body to, like, you know, that thing where you like, you know, this Japanese game shows where there's like all this foam and it's cut out in the shape of something.
Yeah. And you're gonna slide through it.
So you have to do like that.
You have to do that.
They have the virtual version.
No.
So the thing's coming at you.
So you're standing on a stage.
Yeah,
and there's a triangle coming through you.
Yeah, there's a thing. No, so the thing is not actually coming through you. Your image is scanned by a sensor.
Yeah.
And so now you're reflected on the screen.
Yeah.
And then the thing is coming in the screen, and then you have to kind of have a shape to get through. We have games like that. It's like this, like esports, like bicycle, and then you're using that to like kind of fight for territory with your friends.
I like this. This is very good. So I can do like this.
You can do like that. You can do all that. It's really cool. Very, very cool space.
Really? Talk to me a little bit about the way you think, Africa, right, sort of relates to Japan. Does Africa, if you can generalize, right, or maybe some of your personal experiences, do they look up to Japan? Are they excited about Japan? Do they see Japan as having a bright future, or is it just one of them? How should we think about that?
I think it probably depends on like who you're asking, or like what level of society you're talking with, government or like normal people. I think in Ghana, let me speak for Ghana, they have a very good positive image of Japan for having really high quality products and durable stuff. For example, like Toyota, like cars. Yeah, I think they're one of the biggest exports into Ghana from Japan, for example, and they have really solid, like Japanese cars have a very solid market. To like. And
what about like do you think sort of in the creative space, right? Amongst sort of creators, amongst artists, does Japan have sort of a special position as a place that you can learn from, that you want to visit, that you can get inspired by? What's your perception of that?
Japan, like Japanese anime.
Yeah.
Right? Anime and manga and the ability to tell stories is very powerful, right? Yeah. And actually Japanese anime has made it quite into Ghana. There's like a lot of like anime lovers out there, but it's like France. Like in Africa, I hear like France is the one that's mainly exporting anime into Japan. I mean, to Africa, sorry. So like a lot of French dub shit is getting in there. For some reason, I don't think Japan has any active efforts to directly export anime in there. But so your question about like what's there to learn, I think like now obviously there's like with social media and all this stuff, there's more of a chance for Africans to be able to tell their own stories, you know. And I feel animation and being able to paint the image of a different time, or like different stories and share it through anime is very powerful, which I think a lot of African storytellers and creators could probably learn from. It's like anime, I don't know if you call it studios or creators, but then just the ability to be able to create captivating stories through anime is something that I'm sure there's a lot of collaboration that is possible.
You know, for yourself, now you've got a new job, small team, you can have an impact.
Yes.
What are your ambitions, both on the sort of TikTok creator side and, otherwise?
So let me start with the TikTok side, I guess. Just to continue to impact people, I want to create more content about children because I know kids watch a lot of TikToks now, and a lot of Malaysian kids like me who grew up here have a hard time connecting with their African roots. And unfortunately, a lot of Malaysian families are like divorced because the parents just don't get along or whatever. And most times the kids will go with their mom, right? So there's a lot of kids who grow up without an African presence in the house.
Yeah.
And so they don't get to, because I think it takes a black parent to teach a kid how to be black.
Yeah.
And what to expect and prepare you for the world you're going into, you know.
Right.
And without that, it's hard for them. And also sometimes, now obviously like, you know, Hachimura and Naomi Osaka and stuff, like half of Korea is not, right? But even then, there's still a lot of issues that kids
so
face.
superficial.
Yeah, it's like the most surface level thing. But then kids go through a hard time. So I want to make more content that can make them feel that they're not alone in this, and also creates, you know, because I do, some of it's also fiction, you know.
Yeah.
So create fictional scenarios that makes them feel empowered.
Yeah.
Perhaps, because like not Ghanaian, like even Black Japanese, it's still like there's not a whole lot of us, you know.
Right.
Relatively rare.
Yeah.
So like, actually we have I do something I'd like to speak about, but we have a film series I've been doing for about 7 years with my brother, which is about voodoo.
Yeah.
Right, because my family were traditional West African spiritual practitioners.
Yeah.
And the word voodoo comes from the foreign word voodoo, which means like spiritual liberation, right? And we've had this, and growing up in Ghana, everyone's a Christian and stuff. And we've always been told like, oh, we're going to hell, like there's devil worshippers, like school teachers, friends, like you're going to hell, this and that, right? And my dad's really strong dude. Always like taught us to be confident in ourselves and our practice and our traditions, you know. We're not Christian. And so my brother and I started this project 7 years ago, and we filmed like talking about like the misconceptions, and the project is called Revolution. We're trying to demystify traditional African spiritual practices, and that's like a project where we're covering different people's stories, different practitioners' stories from the perspective of practitioners, right? Not some anthropologists coming to tell us what to do. We are practitioners and we are telling our story, right, through this series. And my ambition is to be consistent.
Right.
I want to be consistent and just also keep enjoying what I do and telling as many stories of our community as I can, and also to stay true to my narrative, not like over exaggerate something because maybe it'll get more views or do some shit so like maybe my followers would rise. I want to stay true to myself throughout the process. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. So that's some of my ambitions.
Good.